With WoW being as complex as it currently is, add-ons and WeakAuras make up a huge part of our gameplay experience. Now, most of us have the basics, the details, the class WeakAura packs, the DBMs, but what about the lesser known ones? In this video, I'm going to go over 6 underused WeakAuras and add-ons that can help level up your Mythic Plus experience. Now, first up is I Remember You. This is not related to direct gameplay, it's actually just a way of us keeping track of different players that we run into. I'm sure we've all had the experience where we run into someone, way back when, and then we see their name pop up in LFG and we can't quite remember why exactly we remember their name. So the way this works is each player gets this remember thing. I am sorry to this random person. If we click remember, we get this pop up here. Now you can either say happy, sad, or neutral, and then you can leave a note for yourself and say random man for video. And now what happens is this little icon will appear on the player and you'll be able to see why it is that you've got them tagged. So the way that I would use this is I would generally tag people as either a positive or negative experience, and then it's also a good idea, I think, to then add why you've added that tag. So if we use this Mr. Warrior here, let's just say that we ran a plus 15 error and he was a good DPS. So I might go plus 15 error bumper. Now I know if I see him in queue down the track, it'll come up with a little logo next to his name saying that message. On the flip side, if we go to this warrior and we say, okay, maybe we didn't have the best experience, we might be able to go plus 14 PSF, bit toxic. I'm going to put vid in brackets just in case I ever actually do come across this guy in the future. So that's the gist of the add-on. There's nothing much more to it than that. It's just a way of keeping track of different players and the experiences that you've had with them. Next up, we've got a WeakAura. This is called Focus Automarker. So the benefit to this is this WeakAura will allow you to put a specific marker of your choice on top of whichever mob you are setting as your focus. It also won't override any current markers. So what this is used for is in a Mythic Plus dungeon, if everyone has a specific marker, they can grab the mob that they're trying to focus. And then that way, if someone sees a marker on a particular mob, they know that that's something that's already been taken by another person. The other plus side to this is that if you pair it with a focus kick macro, it will allow you to maintain most of your damage onto your priority target instead of having to tab target across to the kick. So we use these 2 shale horns here. Let's just say this one here has 3.5 million health. So we want to focus this one with damage, but this one here has a kick. So we would do a mouse over focus and it will automatically put the marker. We might run up. Now I'm probably going to one-shot this thing. Let's say we're in combat. We're in a Mythic Plus dungeon and we need to be trying to cleave this guy down. And then, oh god, the other one has a kick. We would go like this, kick, and still be able to maintain our focus here. So this is also paired with 2 macros. So you would have a macro that basically just sets a target as your focus, ideally with a mouse over because it's a bit easier. And then a focus interrupt. I'll link both of these in the description as well as pop them on screen. Now, the other thing here is that you can easily swap the marker in the custom options of the WeakAura. So let's say another party member has Moon already. You can just pick a different marker and then that's fine. The last thing that this add-on will do is when a ready check goes out at the start of a Mythic Plus dungeon, it will put a text box above your head that says, my focus is blah. So this lets everyone know in pugs that that is the mob that you're going to be kicking. So next up, we've actually got a duo of WeakAuras. We have got Mythic Plus Nameplate Alerts and Targeted by Spell WeakAuras. Now, what these things do together is the Mythic Plus Nameplate Alerts will give you a vocal indication of an ability going out. If there's a tank buster, it will say tank. If there's an important kick, it will say kick. If there's AoE damage, it will say damage. So this is a way of keeping track of abilities in packs without having to actually watch like the health bars or anything like that. On top of that, if we can look on the screen here, it will also show a bar on the side that'll show which player is targeted by a specific ability. Now, what we do is we pair this with the targeted by spells WeakAuras, which will give you a little audio ping sound whenever you're the person who's targeted by something. So that can be the thing that will cue you in to the fact that something is targeting you. And then you can look and see which ability it is. Now, the big plus side to this is, especially in like no comms pugs, kicks are going to get through. And even in coordinated groups, kicks are going to get through. So knowing if you're the player that's getting targeted by the ability is going to be really important. So if you can see that a couple of bolts are going off and nobody's got a kick or nobody's going to kick, you can press a defensive and mitigate some of that damage. Instead of situations where you see lots of kicks going off and you don't know whether they're aimed at you or another player, you're either not going to press a defensive and you might die, or you do press a defensive just randomly and it goes on someone else. So this is a good way of keeping track of who's been targeted by different things. It's also really handy if you're playing healer, because you can see who is being targeted by the bolts. So you'll know that, oh, these bolts are going to go off and this player is going to be the one that's going to get hurt by them. You can either tell them that, or you can get ready to heal them or put an external on them as a result. Next up, we've got a really niche one. If we scroll downwards towards the description of this video, you'll see this little button that says subscribe. So this is an add-on that will give you an immediate 10% DPS increase on every spec that you play. So next up, we've got an add-on called Be Quiet. Now, this is actually very simple in what it does. When you're going into dungeons, a lot of the time, you'll see text boxes like this pop up. They get in the way, they're kind of annoying, and they're just generally disruptive, especially when you've done a dungeon, you know, like 20, 30, 40, 50 times in a row. You don't want to see this text box pop up. It gets in the way of all your bars and all that sort of jazz. So what we can do is we can come outside here and we can turn the Be Quiet add-on back on. And then with the add-on back on, we can load back into Necrotic Wake. Now, I've picked a Necrotic Wake because it was probably the worst culprit of this annoying thing happening, but it happens in basically every dungeon these days. Is we walk in, and we can see that as we run in, we get no audio pop-up whatsoever. So this removes the audio in the background in general. There's also a text message that'll pop up in the text box at the bottom that says talking head option removed. Now, I highly recommend that everyone install this, because I can remember multiple times before installing this where I died because I'd have this big text box pop up over the top of all my abilities, and then I wouldn't know what cooldowns I had and what cooldowns I didn't have. So highly recommend this one. So next up, something that I think a lot of people do actually have already, but I think it's definitely worth noting, is Plater, but specifically the Jundies profile. So I know a lot of content creators out there have custom profiles for Plater that are locked behind paywalls. Jundies is completely free, and it has a lot of functionality that just makes keys a lot easier. So if we look even here, these mobs have different colored nameplates. They're a lot easier to see and click. And also, it's a lot more obvious what we need to be targeting. So it makes priority mobs purple. It will put kicks onto any kickable mobs. And then red is just sort of normal. Now, we've got Plater turned off. Now, as we fly across to this section here, we'll be able to see a huge difference. So let's just run into this pack on the left here. You can see these health bars are smaller. It's not 100% clear what we really need to be actually attacking a lot of the time. The benefit is too, is you won't have to learn what each mob is doing beforehand. You can jump straight in and know that any of those beige colors is going to be a kick. Anything that's purple is something that we're going to want to prioritize for damage. And anything red is basically just pad around it. So I think it's definitely worth noting. It's not necessarily less known, but I think a lot of people aren't utilizing Plater, which is just like, it's honestly such a level up in your overall Mythic Plus experience, that I think it's almost a crime to not have it. So next up, we've actually got a really simple one. It's called Keystone Group List. What this is it puts a list on the side here. We've got Stronk in the group to help me demonstrate this. It gives you a list of all of the keys in your group, so which key each party member has. And also, if you click on this icon, it will teleport you directly to the dungeon. For some reason, Tazavesh is not working, and it's only working for those that had portals from Shadowlands. But for any key other than these, you can basically just click straight on this. Makes it really easy to see who's got what. On the plus side as well, this will vanish in a key. So the WeakAuras will only load when you're outside of a key. Really easy to see what people have gotten. It also updates very quickly. So even when you re-roll a key at the end of a dungeon, it will take 2 seconds and show the entire party who's got what key. And lastly, probably the most useful thing that I've come across in the last 12, 18 months is Vocal Raid Assist. Now, people might have already heard of this before, but what this does is gives you verbal indicators of abilities being used by your party members. What this is really good for is running Mythic Plus dungeons and knowing who is using what ability. The benefit to this is when you're in a dungeon, you will be able to immediately know that they've dropped a specific ability and then work around it accordingly. If we look at Druid, we can say Solar Beam. Solar Beam's probably the biggest one for Druids. You might want to know when they've put down Ursols. Bark Skin is something that I need to be tracking on this character. We can go to Paladin. We would want to know when Blessing of Sacrifice has been used. We might want to know when Lay on Hands has been used. Blessing of Spell Warding. So this makes it a lot easier for us to keep track of who's using what ability in your key and then work around it accordingly. So there we have it. That is 6 underused and I think undervalued WeakAuras that everybody should be installing to level up their Mythic Plus gameplay experience. If you think I missed any, let me know in the comments below. We might do a follow-up video if there's enough WeakAuras and add-ons that I might not have touched on. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, gamers, take care.